guys, and welcome to another vlog. I am driving this. This is the 2021 Honda Amaze facelift, which is priced between 7.55 lakhs to 13.51 lakhs on road Mumbai. Straight away we are going to be opening the engine bay of this vehicle. Now this is a diesel. You can obviously hear it. There it says Earth Dreams Technology. There is insulation right there, of course, and you can obviously hear the motor. It's kind of loud. There are a lot of changes which have been done to the car, but nothing mechanical. Everything what has been changed is of course visual. Then starting off at the front, you can see it is very fresh now because of this new grille which has multiple slats as well. A lot of chrome on this car. It gets chrome here as well around the fog lights, and the fog light happens to be an LED unit. The headlight is also an LED unit. Yes, it gets a projector LED, and the DRL is also LED, but the indicator is not LED on this car. Actually, the changes to the design of the car, especially the front, makes it look a lot fresher now. And finally, we've got LEDs in the lights, but not all LED lights as such. Coming to the side, I would say they have actually packaged the car pretty awesome because it doesn't look like an afterthought. Of course, the second generation of the Amaze was made with the concept of a sedan and not a Brio with a hatchback. The wheels are actually small in terms of size. The wheels are new. They call it diamond cut. Two-tone finish as well. 175, 65, 15 is the size of the tire. And I like the paint scheme. This red one actually looks quite nice, and you get chrome door handles as well. Coming to the rear, again you get LEDs, but for the brake light, because the indicator as well as the reverse parking light, rather the reverse light, happens to be halogen. C-shaped, looks nice. iD-Tech VX, which is the top trim. And there you get the exhaust, no fake exhaust as such, but you see the bumper has also been revised and you get a chrome treatment there. There is a reverse parking camera of the car. I think it looks really nice from the rear as well. Now let's do one thing. Let's open the boot of this vehicle, which means I have to press a button and there it opens. Now the boot is actually decent size. It's 420 liters, which is kind of big for the segment, and they've put lining here. The spare wheel, well, it doesn't get an alloy. I'm struggling with the rain and the umbrella and whatnot, but here I will show it to you. There is the spare wheel, which happens to be 175, 70, 14. Well, the width is the same. However, it's a smaller size tire and it's not an alloy. In terms of cost cutting, well, there is plenty on this car, which you would expect because the kind of segment it operates in. Now, subtle changes are done to this car, so you can't really say much has changed as such. Door pockets are actually big enough at the rear, and there's good amount of space because Honda has managed to package this beautifully. Let me see if I can slot the umbrella somewhere. No, the umbrella is sliding right now. Okay, now we have managed to slot the umbrella, so I'm just going to get inside. See my genius. Sometimes it's frightening. Okay, there is good amount of knee room and leg room on offer, like really good. Under-thigh support is also decent. Headroom seems adequate. No, my head is actually touching. It's not adequate, but there are no adjustable headrests, which is a safety concern. There's no headrest in the center for the center passenger. Anyways, you can't use these headrests because the way the seats are designed. So their namesake, they should have offered adjustable headrests for sure. Thankfully, they have. For the front, there is a center armrest with twin cup holders, and the floor is almost flat, but the car is not wide enough for 3 passengers. Thankfully, there is a power outlet, although there should have been a USB charging socket. There should have been a rear AC vent as well. This is scooped out. Obviously, you get magazine holders as well, and no adjustable seat belts for the front. Dashboard looks similar to before, other than the fact they have put silver treatment here, and there is a light placement on the top. So nothing much as such. However, you have a handle to hold on to for rear seat passengers. Overall cabin feels comfortable. You get ISOFIX child seat mounts. Yeah, it gets ISOFIX child seat mounts. It just says ISOFIX though. And this partial shelf is actually on the smaller side. There it is, the ISOFIX child seat mount. Anyways, let's get out and let me pick this umbrella from here. Struggling with the rain, oh my god, just doesn't stop. You get a shark fin antenna. I love how Honda does keyless entry. Okay, you don't have to press any button. You put your hand into these nice chrome colored door handles and the car automatically unlocks. No buttons to be pressed, which is quite nice, and the request sensor is there on both the sides. Now what we're going to do is something cheeky. I'm going to place my umbrella here, okay, and I'm going to quickly run inside the car because I don't have time to close the umbrella. Door pockets are big enough at the front. A lot of buttons, we'll come to that in a bit. You see, there's a proper dead pedal. Thankfully, there's a auto one-touch rolling for the driver's side window. It also gets a pinch function. We should try the pinch function with this bottle right now. So I'm just going to roll it down, and then I'm going to roll it up. And here, no, it didn't go right. We're going to do that again. And there, let's see the pinch function works. Yeah, it does work. I would not put my hand and risk it for sure. Okay, anyways, you can close the outside rear view mirrors by pressing this button. There it closes. These are controls for the outside rear view mirror adjustment. Let's shut the indicators, making some noise. Now AC is off at the moment. This silver treatment has been added here as well, and on the steering wheel too. Steering wheel feels nice to hold. These are the buttons for the cruise control. These are the controls for the audio system of the vehicle, and of course it gets automatic headlights now. Yeah, automatic headlights, and Here you don't get automatic wipers, you don't expect them to be there, but the wipers work really well. Let's do some spray. Okay, from one nozzle it puts out 3 sprays, which is actually nice. Clean the windscreen in no time at all. No auto dimming inside rear view mirror, unfortunately. Oh, light has been added here, I believe, and there is a mirror here. There is nothing here to see at all, and there is a handle on the driver's side as well. There is a handle almost everywhere. Seats are actually quite comfortable. Front seats are actually very comfortable. This is on the lower side. This, if you put it on the lower side, under thigh support can be an issue. In fact, under thigh support is an issue for the driver. You can see the seat base is such that under thigh support is an issue, especially for tall passengers. That could have been better. Let's adjust the steering wheel, which is adjustable only for height function. Meanwhile, you get a power outlet here along with 2 USB charging sockets. One of them connects to the car for Apple CarPlay as well as Android Auto connectivity, and there is storage space here. There are twin cup holders there. There's storage space here. There's storage space here. A lot of storage spaces. I really like that. Okay, the glove box doesn't get the cooling function, and it's actually decent size, not really big as such. AC gets the climate control function as well. Let's turn it on. Yeah, it's actually a chiller. They have worked on giving us a great AC from the second generation Amaze, of course, and this is gloss black, which is a fingerprint magnet. This is for the hazard light. Meanwhile, my poor umbrella is getting dirty. I'm so sorry. I'll take you for a drive in the Amaze, don't worry. And this is a 7-inch screen, which is kind of slow, not the easiest to operate. Here you see it makes this sound, which is actually good to tell you stuff, but it gets navigation. I believe there's some connectivity thing. Let's press session not connected. Then why do you even have that there? And you can also play videos. For that, I think I have to connect a USB, photo frame and all these things, which are kind of useless, to be very honest, and this is not very slick as such. Now let's get into reverse, and the reverse parking camera takes some time, but there it is. Gets guidelines, they're not adaptive. It gets these multiple modes also, which is kind of cool to tell you exactly where your car is positioned. Meanwhile, this instrument cluster is the same age old. Okay, it gets a multi-information display, which can be a little cluttered, but you can browse through a lot of information like range, average speed, average fuel efficiency, and trip A, trip B. You can change the clock and whatnot. This car had only done 10 kilometers when I got it, and it's showing a range of 775 kilometers. That's why I say nothing, absolutely nothing beats a diesel engine ever. Okay. Then you have the regular fuel information and what is the kilometers per liter, which is the real-time mileage, as well as the temperature meter and a clock, and the usual bits, a speedometer and a tachometer, which I think is kind of essential in every car. It's there in every car as such. Okay, this is a headlight leveler. This is the engine start-stop button. Overall, I would say the cabin is nice and all, but obviously you get a lot of hard touch plastics, which is expected at this price point. So nothing to really complain about on that front. Let's play an audio right away. Where do I press? Press in audio. It makes this sound. You heard the radio. It said, "Main yahan, tu wahan." Me and my umbrella. Anyways, these buttons are physical controls, but they are a little small and not the most intuitive to use. A rotary dial should be there for volume control. That would be really awesome. Meanwhile, there's not much to talk about. What have we been talking? Because I told you about all the changes, like really cosmetic and not much feature change as well. It gets 2 airbags, it gets ABS, it gets EBD. All of that is standard across the freaking range of this Honda Amaze. I think this was there before also. So was this, this sort of this silver chrome treatment which is there. Kind of cool. Actually uplifts the cabin and a lot of silver here and there and all. Anyways, let's press the horn. Okay, my umbrella is getting disturbed, so we'll just move and I'll rescue it and let's start driving. Alright, we're all set to go, which means turning on the vehicle, and there it turns on. There's a full swipe up there as well, which looks kind of cool. Into first gear, air conditioning off, there's no traction to shut off, hazard lights off. Revving the motor, revs till only 2000 RPM, and red lines at close to 4500 RPM, and off we go. Turn on the wipers as well. Oh my god, you hear a lot of noise on the inside because this engine is vocal, but the overall insulation is not great of the Amaze. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour comes up very briskly because this is a smallish car with a kind of a big engine, because the same engine also powers the City in the same exact tune, which is 100 horsepower, comes in at 3600 RPM, and the torque output is an equally impressive 200 Newton meters, which comes in at only 1750 RPM. The result is that this car has amazing drivability. Turbo lag is very well contained, and there's good tractability. Performance is linear for the most part, with sometimes there's a kick as well through the RPM range. I think around the mid range it gives you a small kick as well. So fantastic performance, really very nice, really punchy motor, and very efficient as well. This will return a fuel efficiency between 16 to 20 kilometers per liter, depending on your driving style. You want to make a quick overtake, you know what, you can get into 5th gear and still have great performance. I am in 5th gear right now. It doesn't get a 6th gear like the City, so just flex your right foot and it will immediately get ahead, because it's a light car, light in terms of weight compared to the older generation of the Amaze, the first generation. This is actually 52 kgs lighter as well, and the result is absolutely fantastic performance. They have tuned the engine beautifully well. Only thing, it becomes vocal when you compare it to the older Amaze, the first generation. Obviously it's much more silent, but still when compared to Hyundai's diesel engine, this is vocal. Doesn't have the diesel clatter as such, but yes, it is loud, especially when you get higher end of the rev range. Here, like I get into second gear, listen to this. Gets very boomy in the top end, and you know, it kind of feels uncomfortable in the top end as well, although power kind of gets cut very abruptly here. Now thankfully the brakes are really very nice on this car, very sure-footed stopping power. You see, yeah, tires offer decent grip, although the car tends to understeer a lot. Into first gear, revving the motor. Usually this car would make a lot of wheel spin sounds, but because the road is wet, none of that is happening at the moment. I have an issue with the clutch. It's very badly calibrated. Firstly, the travel is really very long. Okay, the activation point is also very high, and it kind of springs back very quickly as well. So yeah, the clutch could have been a lot better on the Amaze diesel. We'll figure out the petrol later in this vlog. But I'll tell you another problem with this car is that they have limited the top speed to around 140 to 145 kilometers per hour, somewhere in between. It just hits a wall abruptly, and it obviously can do much more. You know why? Because the same engine is in the city, and I think it does 177 kilometers per hour in the city, not in the Amaze. I think for high speed stability they have tried to curtail that, because this car is not very stable at high speeds. It tends to move around a bit, and that's because the suspension is really very soft. The car is extremely light as well, and the soft suspension lends it a great ride. For the most part, you will not complain about the ride quality of this car, but you will complain about the ride quality over bad potholes, because it kind of crashes through them. But for the most part, ride is actually quite impressive due to the soft suspension. But the soft suspension also has another problem. There's quite a lot of body roll. I don't know what that was, but there's plenty of body roll in this car. You come around the corner, the car does roll quite a bit, and the steering is also not very inspiring. I mean, it's not the most precise steering around. I mean, it does weigh up decently well. It doesn't feel hairy at all. It feels connected, but just does not feel fluidic enough. Okay, I don't know if the word fluidic would be right here, but the steering just does not feel inspiring enough. Could have been a lot better. Has a lot of slack as well, and this steering wheel along with the soft suspension, everything adds up to a car which is not spectacular in terms of handling abilities, although steering is a little bit on the heavier side at low speeds. But driving in the city, oh my god, light controls really very awesome, and of course the engine having great drivability also helps its cause. Get into the throttle. It hits the red line very fast. It revs quite fast, and then you hit a bump, and the thing I was talking about, it crashes through it. That just happened. So for the most part, I would say the engine is absolutely fantabulous, but there's also CVT on offer, an automatic, which has 20% lesser power, 80 horsepower and 160 Newton meters of torque. Yeah, they've reduced the power and torque on the CVT so that, you know, it can handle the engine performance, because that's the reason they don't offer it on the city, I believe, because with 100 horsepower and 200 Newton meters, the CVT box will not be able to handle all that grunt. But in case of the Amaze, you don't really complain about it, because it's just 0.9 seconds slower than the manual. That's not much, and not very less efficient either. So it definitely works in the Amaze, and that's one of the USPs of this generation of the Amaze, is the CVT diesel automatic, which costs 1 lakh rupees more, and now it's also available in the top end. There's only one variant for the diesel automatic. In fact, there are, let me count, yeah, there are 9 variants of the Amaze on offer, and mainly the variants are E, S and VX. They've dropped the V trim. The E trim is actually the older generation model, I believe, old model or something of that sort, I don't care. Okay, maybe the pre-facelift or whatever, that's not important. What's important is that you pay a premium of 2.5 lakh rupees for the diesel, and that's an obnoxious premium just for the diesel engine. But you know what, the diesel engine's performance is so much better than the petrols that it is completely worth paying that extra for the diesel. Because remember, what did I tell you that day? A diesel is a diesel is a diesel is a diesel. Okay, so 12.5 lakh rupees on road Mumbai for this car, and 13.5 lakh rupees on road Mumbai for the CVT, 1 lakh more in the same variant, I mean the same trim, offering the same amount of features as well. So not really very stable at higher speeds, not really a driver's car, but very fuel efficient, great for the city. I think this engine is absolutely fantabulous. You will never ever crib or complain that this car doesn't have ample performance, because it does. It has more than enough grunt you would ever need for the city and for the occasional highway run as well. In fact, here we want to launch again into first gear, revving the motor doesn't rev. I don't know why it doesn't rev. Boomy, quite boomy. Motor becomes so freaking loud. And into third gear. Now the thing is that Honda has not made any freaking change to the mechanicals of the car, because they think that if it ain't broke, why fix it? Well, I'm sorry to say this, there are some things which are broke and you need to fix it. And particularly the insulation of the car. There's so much you can hear from the outside, like the tire noise, the wind noise. Come on, we need a little bit more silence on the inside, and all this is obviously because of cost cutting which has been done to come to an attractive price point. But considering the competition offers better insulation and certain better features as well, I expected more. Every time I put my hand down now for the gear, I'm wondering why there is no front center armrest. That would be a nice addition, because you need that when shifting gears. Obviously you're into third gear. The motor is so tractable now. You can always drive the car in a higher gear without any second thought. That is a tractability on offer from this diesel engine. Is the petrol engine as good? Well, and the petrol engine is so much more refined, because Honda's diesel engine is not very refined. That's why the petrol feels even more refined. But in typical Honda fashion, petrol engine is actually very refined. Coming around the corner, the same thing. Only thing is the petrol actually feels softer in terms of the suspension when compared to the diesel, which is already having a soft suspension. So you can say the ride quality is slightly better. No, actually it's not. We are going to stop here into first gear, revving the motor. Rev still 6,700 RPM. Plenty of wheel spin on offer, but as you upshift, you realize the bottom end and the mid-range isn't that strong on this car, but it reaches 100 kilometers per hour almost in second gear. That is the level of tall gearing on offer. It's obnoxiously tall, the gearing on this vehicle, and becomes very vocal in the higher end of the rev range. In fact, it is super duper vocal, this motor, but not at lower end. It's only in the high end, but it feels very exciting in the higher end of the rev range, and that is what is a VTEC motor all about. But unfortunately though, the performance is not really as great to be called a VTEC here, because low end performance is okay, not that great. Mid range is kind of weak, but in the top end beyond 5,000 RPM, it really pulls. It's not that it doesn't have a pull in other areas of the rev band. In fact, it kind of feels punchy around 2,500 RPM. Then again, it kind of drops, and then again it becomes punchy around 3,500, 4,000 RPM, and then again it drops. And then from 5,000 RPM all the way to the 6,700 RPM red line, it feels really nice and punchy. But now competitors are offering so much more in terms of engine performance, specifically the turbo ones. This engine just cannot be in the same thrill what the turbo ones offer, and that's kind of surprising. I'll tell you why. First and foremost, Honda is known to be the master of petrol engines, but you know, I don't know what's happening in the recent era. Honda is not offering petrol engine which you would be like, delicious performance. No, that's not happening. The other area of issue is that when it ain't broke, why fix it? That is the case with the City's 1.5 litre engine, which got DOHC, which was earlier SOHC. It's a new engine and all that stuff. The City did not need a new engine. It was already a fantastic 1.5 litre engine in the 4th generation of the City. In the 5th generation, they came up with a new engine. Unnecessary, because the performance is adequate, everything is fantastic. This 1.2 litre engine, that could have been revised. They could have offered, or rather developed a newer engine which could take to the fight to the turbo ones. But no, Honda is like, we will fix the City because that engine only goes in one car. However, this engine goes in 3 cars. Okay, Amaze, WRV, as well as Jazz, and when the Brio was there, that was also using the same engine. I think the priorities are set wrong somewhere or the other. Now, in-gear acceleration is kind of poor, which is the reason why you have to really downshift. In fact, look at it. I'm at 60 kilometers per hour, 4th gear. It's not making a move along. I have to get into 2nd gear, rev the nuts out of the motor, and there it goes all the way to 6,700 RPM. That is where it makes progress. The steering wheel though, it doesn't offer the same level of feel as the diesel. The diesel has a heavier steering wheel, but the difference is not really a world apart. Overall, it gets the job done in the city, but I would expect a lot more grunt from a Honda VTEC for sure. Both the clutch and gearbox suffer the same fate as the diesel, which means the clutch has a very long travel. It springs up very fast, and the activation point is also on the higher side. Meanwhile, the gearbox is super slick shifting. It has short gates, but sometimes, which is very rare, it kind of feels notchy. You cannot, unlike the diesel, you cannot drive it in a higher gear at a lower speed because it just doesn't go ahead. You really have to downshift to extract the best. It has this eco mode indicator to tell you that you're driving eco-friendly, but I don't care about that. What I care about is raw performance, and that's where this engine actually lacks. However, the CVT does a better job somehow. Yeah, it is slower and less efficient, but it's able to give it a leaner performance. This car doesn't have a leaner performance. It has a, up and down performance like that, because the power peaks and then it drops, and then it peaks and then it drops, and this continues, which doesn't give it a very enjoyable drive for people who are not enthusiastic about driving. For me, I love it. I even though it's not really fast or sounds great, it sounds loud but not really great, I enjoy it because I'm like, okay, fine, at least there's some action happening, if not speed, movement in some or the other area for sure. And when at idle, you can feel the vibrations. It vibrates a lot. Even the diesel, it vibrates a lot. But somehow I'm feeling more vibes in the petrol right now, because I can feel the vibes on the pedals, on the gear lever, on the steering wheel as well. Can you notice it? I'm going to shut up. Not that my shutting up changes the vibrations. Here we're going to rev the motor, revs like a mad beast. A Pulsar 220 wants to race. Like really, I would let the Pulsar go because this Honda motor doesn't have the soul of a VTEC. I think Honda has really spoiled us with the engines in the city. The city is just so fantastic. Now again, this has a top speed which is restricted to 140 to 43 kilometers per hour for probably safety reasons. Revving the motor, revs till 6,700. This would wheel spin like mad if it was not for the wet road conditions. There's no traction control, thankfully. So yeah, it really feels enjoyable to drive when you pull it hard, but in the city doesn't have the grunt. Out on the highway doesn't have the in-gear acceleration. So Honda needs a fantastic turbo engine, which they already have, which they're not bringing to India for reasons best known to them. There you can feel the front wheels scrambling for traction. Car feels very light to drive, has a very chintu mintu fuel tank capacity of just 35 liters. The horn is pretty bad, although all the cars have such a kind of a horn. And the fuel efficiency of this car should be between 12 to 16 kilometers per liter depending on your driving style. Now I have to downshift. You have to really work the gearbox to extract the best because this engine doesn't have much grunt. Around the corners you can feel the roll. Okay, rolls a lot and then obviously tends to understeer as well. So guys, this is my vlog of the Honda Amaze facelift. I think avoid the petrol, consider the diesel. The diesel is fantastic, the petrol not so much, but then the premium you pay for the diesel is quite a lot. Definitely worth it in my opinion, but people who don't drive the car much, they will not find it worth spending so much premium, that is 2.5 to 2.7 lakh rupees for the diesel. So then they would probably decide to get the petrol. But if you look at the bigger picture, if you desire a compact sedan and aspire to own a Honda, maybe you might like the aura of this new facelift. Look what I did there. On that bombshell, it's time to end. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you when I'm coming on the speed breaker. If you load a lot of people in the car now, the car kind of bottoms out at the rear and then can also scrape over speed breakers. Similar issue I think has been faced with a lot of Honda cars. So soft suspension, a lot of travel, although the suspension itself has a lot of travel, which gives it a brilliant ride. And honestly, most of these people who buy a Honda love rice. Why chawal? Simply because, check this out. Honda ही Honda होगी.